I have in mind St. Paul. He says that what's the good if I have all these attributes of character or ability, but I have not love. You see, when you perfect the mental attributes that we can have, you can be brilliant. You can move on then to the intuitive abilities too. Tremendous access to the mind of, perhaps to the mind of God, to understanding, to knowledge, to ability. But again, it's going to be of no great value unless the next layer of character has been developed, which is the nirvanic, the community, the relating, the loving. And similarly, I can be impressed with a loving character, but it hasn't developed the next level up, which is the devotion, the love of God. You see, you can love the wrong things passionately, and it's your downfall. You think, you can you need the completeness to be complete. You can be complete in any one sort of area of your personhood, but you need completeness in the others. It's not quite that. Can I be more accurate? You need more development of the one above. I was thinking very much that we're incarnated in this universe to iron out the details of our character. That, like the Genesis story, we start in paradise, but we need a few small things put right. But the Genesis story is not like that. It saw not trusting God, not as a detail, of course, but as utterly fundamental. Enough in the story for them to be put out of the garden. The child's wonderful in being a child. They are innocent, and of course the Genesis story doesn't see them as innocent. It sees them as a bit strange. They seemed absolutely fine in the garden until it was revealed that they could be led astray by wisdom, the snake. The wisdom wasn't of great value, you see, unless they'd been developed in the area of trust and devotion, yes. But trust. And trust in the guidance and the leadership and the advice of God. Now, I'm not arguing here that you have to swallow all scripture as if it's perfect and should be worshipped. I'm definitely, strongly not arguing that. But I am saying that upper nirvanic nature side of you is of paramount importance, whereas much of our time and occupation is spent on perfecting the other sides of our character. I mean, assuming we're consciously developed enough to be concerned about such. We can be here with all the lower, as I'm referring to them, aspects of our character, our personhood. And if we're in poverty on the nirvanic level, well, it's still chaos. The view is, I think mistakenly with the ancient view, is in not realizing how important the higher level is to be developed, for the lower level being developed to be of any use, of any value. You know, I can have all the knowledge and understanding, but not love God, and therefore I'm applying it all to the wrong goal. It's not going to be wonderful in the end at all. I'm simply going to realize that I need to develop those upper levels of character. And then the second thing I'd like to point out that strikes me as so important is that the lower the abilities of the lower aspects of our character no, it's not that. It's that the lower bodies, so to speak, are not needed if you perfected the higher ones. The view of the model is I don't need, for instance, the emotional body if I've perfected the mental. I don't need the mental if I've perfected the causal anyway. Well, the causal is part of the mental, but the causal being the upper development of such. I don't need the fact that I need any lower body indicates my imperfection. If I need to go through experiencing a physical body, there's something that needs to be put right in the physical. If I've perfected that side of my character, I can not need to be physical anymore. If I perfect the emotional, I don't need to have the emotional body anymore. if I've perfected the mental, if I've perfected the causal, I don't need the ordinary understanding. I can do all things. If I've perfected the imaginative intuitivity, I don't need a causal body any longer. I don't need those dimensions because I'm living in the one above. That's what needs to be worked on with the level above that, you see. When I become relational, even at the lower levels, I don't need to come back to the causal world. I can focus totally on the nirvanic dimension with the help of the one above, which is the love, where the ego is now embracing others. I don't need to work out, if you like, the rules of non-violent communication, civilization, teamwork together, integrity and so on. I don't need the rules because I am the rules already. It's as if I perfect them and then don't need them. I can then not have that body, but work on you see, once I've got the qualities of a lower side of my character, lower bodies, I have the abilities which are necessary to perfect the next level, and I concentrate on that body appropriate to developing the next level. I become proficient at loving. It becomes a reality in my character. I'm now able to concentrate on the one above, which is devotion to God, loving God. I develop that side. I'm now ready to be one with God when it's really developed. Now I'm concerned not to discard that body because dare I say it, I'm thinking of God. I want to do something that's He can't do. I can't be a separate friend to Him if I'm part of Him. And I'm devoted, I love Him. So I keep my separation because to be of value to Him is everything to me. I go a step further to say for Him to have value is everything to me. I suppose that's the final body I'm working on. I say body, body suggests physical, doesn't it? But I mean being. Ultimately, you see, we are concerned for his being. I know this is not a terribly good, this doesn't seem a very competent recording, and I'm not sure even if it's a blessing to you, but I'm trying to work out, you see. I know what's wrong. I'm obsessed with understanding. I don't need to understand if I have the higher. It's as if, you see, I need to perfect a level to not return to it, because I now have the qualities that that level gives me. I can then retire into the upper level. I come back into the world, the lower levels, only to be a blessing in such. Something like that. I have in mind a third point, that to do so, I need to take on an imperfection to be able to assume that lower body. So I can come back, let me say for a moment, you may not like this, but as Jesus, I can come back to the world and shed some of my glory. I think that's what's meant by shedding a glory. I can lose some of my comprehensiveness of being perfected on the higher levels. And therefore you can find fault in me. You know, not to call nobody perfect. In 3 days I will be perfected. I sanctify myself because I wasn't. No point in him sanctifying himself if he wasn't, is there? And that enables me to, like, don't touch me, I'm not yet resurrected to the Father. I'm not sure what that means, but Jesus is saying in the story that he's held off from his glory for a moment. We say he's laid it aside. He's less glorious, less of good report. He gets hangry. He suffers, at the well, he needs water. If I didn't need water, I wouldn't have a physical body. And then I couldn't come to you. I come to you in the physical, you see. So I necessarily shed some of my, or set aside. I think that's why the theosophy theory has it that it's just part of the monad, part of his perfect self that comes into incarnation to work something out. I think the truth's the other way around. This might be an insight. Take it for a moment, could you? Every incarnation of every person is to come to set up the scene, the picture, the experience, the state of being, physical, say, or only higher states, in order for others in that state to sort themselves out, develop. So let me just try this for a moment. I might come and appear as something evil, that you may know good and evil, and choose the good. But then I can go again, because that which is necessary has been achieved. This is to say that despite what we look like, we all come as angels into the physical world to help each other have a thinking situation in which we can sort out what's needed at that level. We each come as a blessing to each other that's here. Now that can't be quite right, because that would mean that we are all perfect already in the upper levels. And we are, in that we're saying we are, but we've set aside some of our perfection in order to be here. I'm stuck. Hang on a minute. Let me listen to this line of chaotic reasoning again, as it looks. But I'm going to trust it's for a blessing. Thank you, Dad. Well, I've gone back to the beginning. I've gone back to the simple level, a bit like going back to the physical. I've gone back there and found what's wrong. What was wrong in the garden? You didn't trust. You were separate from God. That's what was wrong. So you were outside now the garden to find out what's wrong with your situation. And what was wrong in the Genesis situation was you've stopped being a perfect friend to God. You're not in harmony with Him. When you were in harmony before the misunderstanding came from the wisdom was you would be like God if you ate of the fruit, contrary to what He said. You'd lost, therefore, something was wrong or lacking in your ability to be a perfect friend to God. So you go back to the inadequate level of living to try and find out what you've got to put right there that your upper experience of living be complete, be made right, be put right. Good. I think that's what the ancient wisdom had. It got that bit right. You know, I'm not saying the ancient wisdom is perfect, it's not to be worshipped. But I'm certainly not saying it hasn't got a lot of things right. Don't dismiss it all. Throw the baby out with the bathwater, you know? So we have an understanding. I don't mean it's necessarily perfect, but we have an understanding of the Genesis story that the couple in the garden were suffering a fault. They hadn't perfected trusting in God. And it's that fault which necessitated their going back to their grassroots, sort something out in the lower levels, what they thought were at lower levels of their ability, that will put this fault right and experience outside of this high nirvanic state of being in the garden, communing with God in the evening. They can still talk to God, but not be with him where he is. He is where they are, but they are not where he is. In other words, he is conscious of them always, even outside the garden. But they are only conscious of him in a partial way. Or when they pray to him and ask for something which, you know, they can still communicate with him, but they're not in full community with him any longer. They're not allowed where he truly lives, in the garden, where he lives in his completeness, as it were, in his fullness, in his full being. If you like, you could say their lack of trust in his words has forced them into experiencing a lower body, to put right something there so that the lower body is not needed and they can return to their full fellowship with God in the garden, but return in a better way than they were before. For now they won't be led astray by misunderstanding of wisdom. Now I'm in, Marshall is in, one of these lower bodies. In fact, all of them, in order to be in the physical. Which means I must have assumed an inadequacy at each level in order to be here. I now have the experience of all levels, including the one where there's a fault. So I have all the experience of the bodies right down to the one that's at fault, which is the physical. Because I've got a physical body at the minute, which is not perfect or I wouldn't have it. If I'd perfected the physical, I wouldn't need to come down to this level. I'd only come down to the emotional level. I perfect such level as I'm in by drawing on such level as I have revealed to me of the upper selves, the upper bodies, the upper echelons of character, in relation to the fault which is in the level that I'm at, my level that I'm at. Don't know how to say it clearer, sorry. Look, this recording's gone on for half an hour. I should, at the very least, have a pause. So I'm going to hold it here. Thank you, Dad. Look, to come back to a body of the lower levels, I have to set aside something in each of the higher levels, or something in one of them, in order to be here. And it's not that I'm going to contradict what I've just said. It's that the inadequacy of me at the higher level is caused. The cause is right back down at the lowest level. So I've come here to see what that might be, to experience a body of the lower level again. I experience such experiences at the lower level until I've got it right. Having got that right, all the other bodies all the way up can adjust. I do so by moving up to the next body, say from the physical to not coming to the physical anymore, but only incarnating in the as low as, rather, with bodies down to the emotional, and I can put that right. If you like, the astral heaven as they were using their jargon originally. I put that right. I can then move up to getting the mental and causal level right. I think those two are together because they are so interrelated. I learn the understanding from being able to cause successfully or unsuccessfully something. If I achieve it successfully, then I say I've found out the understanding. So those two are grouped in the mental together. So we then go through this long process of adjusting all our character, all the way up to the character that loves God, but now more completely. I think that's it.